And that always brings a smile to everybody's face, Mr. Chairman. Members of the panel, thank you for being here today. I'm going to start out with a forest fire. I've been to 3 of them last week because my district has 8 going on right now. And when I get to an incident control meeting, the commander of that incident control team is there, and then the division managers for that fire are all there too, or on the phone, and being able to address the issues, as are all the community organizations, police, fire, emergency response groups. They're all on those meetings, and there's multiple meetings during the course of the week with the citizens of those communities at risk. And now I'm in a process where I'm trying to figure out how this whole process is working from the standpoint of, we're here now, what's happened, we can't change that. But going forward, how are we going to address that we have enough of the testing equipment and the tracing equipment in order to address the issues potentially in October, November, and into the winter? How are we going to, or will we have, a command and control system that doesn't include 50 people doing whatever they want to do and not any ability to react to hotspots as they occur as quickly as they should maybe? And are we going to be ready? Hotspots. I have Navajo is my district. I have a White Mountain Apache in my district. White Mountain Apache, over 1,500 have gotten the virus. That's out of 12,000 people. Navajo, the whole nation knows what happened on Navajo. It took us weeks to get enough help up there to be able to address that problem. And White Mountain Apache are still calling me all the time saying, where is this and where is that? So it's obvious that we have a shortage right now. How can we be guaranteed that we're going to have the necessary equipment and materials to be able to address it coming up during a flu season and the pandemic at the same time? And then transparency and accountability. I don't know how right now you trace a transparency and accountability in this system, because it's almost impossible. Because nobody says, that was my fault. So, and I think every one of your groups has done an outstanding job. I just can't find out what you're doing on a regular basis. I hear something on the news, but that doesn't mean that I really end up knowing what it is. And so Dr. Fauci, could you explain to me where we are at now and how are we going to attack these hotspots and address all the issues I just talked about by the fall, and will we be prepared? And I guess most of all is the entire process of how do we educate the public that has different ideas and concepts right now to be able to understand the complicated nature that all of you have addressed here today and the overwhelming need to cooperate with one another as America always has. Dr. Fauci?
You asked a lot there. I'll try to be succinct in my answer. So where we are now, as I mentioned a little bit ago, that it really is a mixed bag. It's a big country, it's very heterogeneous, and you can't have essentially a unidimensional approach to the difference between Arizona and the things you're responsible for and New York City metropolitan area. Some areas have done very well, are well controlled. They're going through the guidelines to open America. Others that we've discussed in detail today are doing poorly, and we're very concerned about them. So you're talking about, what about as we get into the fall and the winter? The first thing that we would need to do is to try as best as possible to get the complete outbreak under control so that everything is at such a low level that when there are cases that come up, you can contain them as opposed to mitigating, where you're essentially chasing after a forest fire that you just mentioned. Hopefully, we'll get that under control soon. The other thing we need to do is to get the material, which we are doing, and Admiral Giroir, I'm sure, will comment on that because he's done a phenomenal job of doing that. Getting the PPE, getting the ventilators, getting the equipment that we need, and have them in store so that if, and I hope it's if and not when, but if we ever need them, we'll have them and not be in the situation that we were in February and March.
Will we have them by October and November?
Yeah, I believe we will. We certainly will have the testing that we did not have early on. We will have it by October. With regard to the other things, the PPEs and the others, perhaps Admiral Gerard can help you with that.
Thank you again, and again, this is what we spend all our time working on under the cooperation with Department of Defense, FEMA, HHS. We've already talked about testing, and if you want a person with accountability, it's me. If we don't have it, you look at me, it's my problem. But the whole testing infrastructure is really working together. The laboratory supplies, the laboratory testing, the NIH program, the BARDA program is all working in synergy, and I'm coordinating all that to make sure it happens. In terms of PPE, we had a long way to go because almost nothing was made in the United States. I mean, literally, almost nothing was made in the United States. I mentioned earlier that a good example would be the N95 masks, and Admiral Polubchek tells me as a result of everything, we're going to have about 180 million per month made in the United States by the fall. That's ramping up very quickly, so we feel pretty good about that. And ventilators were just a good success story. I worked a lot on the ventilator problem early on. I'm an intensive care physician. That's probably the only thing I do best is work with children on ventilators. But we were very concerned about that, and by July, we'll have about 50,000 in the stockpile. We only had 19,000 to begin with, but we'll have 50,000, so we know we're going to be in good shape for that. And I'm going to use a word of Dr. Fauci. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I am very cautious, and I still don't sleep well at night because we have a long way to go. And I just want to make the point that everyone has made. It's not like this is all going to happen to us. The American people have a lot to say about this, and we want to emphasize following the guidelines, following the phases, avoiding mass gatherings, wearing these things, using hand hygiene. We have a lot to say about where this is going to go, but we all need to continue to work together to make that happen.
Thank you, Admiral. And I yield.